Hey everyone, this is Val. I know I've been promising sort of a non-specific topic, sort of shooting the shit video for a while, and that time has now come. So you lucky devils, you can just hear my uh, extemporaneous, off-the-cuff, non-censored flow of consciousness for the next anywhere from 10 to 45 minutes. So I shall begin. And well, on my website, one of my websites, butterflylanguage.com, I recently republished about 150 by now older posts that I had taken out of circulation and put back into drafts about a year ago. And I did this because I did this like in several waves in 2018. And basically I had done that because I was afraid that, my unvarnished, uncensored material on unvarnished, uncensored topics would basically make me unhireable and ostracized and all this stuff like that. What I really wanted to be was accepted and normal and, non-controversial and everything like that. And so I thought, you know what I'll do? At first it was only a few posts. I'll just take a few posts out of circulation. And then it was this thing where I just went bonkers and just pulled everything. And I've done variations of this type of self-censorship many times in my life. I've torn apart like whole sets of handwritten journals into tiny postage stamp size pieces, and so on. But anyway, I did this in 2018, and I kind of wanted to market myself as somewhere between like a life coach. I know that sounds pretty funny, right? A life coach and, just a sort of standard content writer, for B2B and whatever. And so this is really what I thought the right path was. And if I did this, good fortune would come to me. And so I'm here to tell you, in case you have ever contemplated and or done something similar to what I've described, I'm here to tell you that this plan I had, this brilliant plan, did not work. Now, not only did this plan not work, it did the exact opposite. Well, it did the exact opposite of working. It did not work. And not only did it not work, it really not worked. It went over time and not working. And sort of facing all these different crises, like one after another. And like in a way there were so many crises that it felt like it was just something funny going on, because like I would be talking to like my sister or therapist or whomever about all these things. It's like this thing went wrong and this thing went wrong and this thing went wrong. And then suddenly this went right at the same moment. It was just too much bad luck, way too much bad luck. And that was like all through 2018 and the beginning of this year. And so my brilliant plan to self-censor and try to fit in did not work. It didn't work. And so that's when I decided to just republish, not everything, because I would say like, when you have a massive amount of work, there's always going to be stuff that you need to edit, or like not everything is relevant anymore or whatever. But I would say I've republished, and I am republishing most of that material. And I'm really glad that I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I know I'm as unique as a fingerprint, and that's a good thing. It's funny, like people of my generation might have heard a lot in school this sort of progressive liberal sort of thing about free to be you and me, and that the best thing you can be is yourself. and this is like beyond liberal progressive stuff. And I mean, this is like the whole Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood thing about, like you're different and that's really great. And so I was raised, through the media. Sorry, I kicked my thing. But I was raised through the media and everything to believe this, and yet that never really, for the most part, squared away with some of the larger realities of living in this society. Almost to the point where I wish I would have been told harsher things. So not so I would have conformed, but at least I would have known what to expect. Because here's the thing. When you're like a kid and you're just told continually, like by, like your parents or your teachers or the media that you're watching, whatever, PBS, like you're perfect just the way you are. You're perfect just the way you are. You can achieve anything you want and blah, blah, blah. And then you go into society and you run into all this stuff without that preparation. Like, it's a story of the idealist turning into the cynic. It's crushing. And that's really kind of what happened to me the last 10 to 15 years. Just that sort of thing. Like I kept saying to myself, I can be anything I want, and I'm unique, and that's really great. And everybody loves unique people, and not everybody loves unique people, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be unique. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't live out your dream, but you should be aware that not everybody is going to like you or support your dreams or, you need to be aware. You need to be aware not to justify it, how people think, but you need to be aware just so you can be like, when it happens, you can be like, oh, I have this bullshit over here, and then you move on. Next page, you move on from that. Rather than being this sort of like, I don't know, I pictured in my mind just now, like Luke Skywalker looking at like the charred bodies of his uncle and aunt in the sand. That moment, or just like, you gotta be able to, I guess, be tougher than that. And it's like, we shouldn't have to be tougher. But also it could help. It could help. And it's like, I discuss a lot of things on my blog because I've thought about this topic tremendously over the course of my life. And I think I talk about evolution and spiritual evolution and how people are different and, how different people are kind of ostracized sometimes and just all these mechanisms. They're in my blog, butterflylanguage.com, and I go over it and over it. I'm not going to go over it and over it here, but right now, I have thought about it a lot. So anyway, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is just like, sort of like, you got to live out who you are. And, you got to be proud of who you are and what your interests are and what your talents are. And you have to, because, I don't know. I feel like people in life have purposes. I believe, our lives are the way they are for a reason. And sometimes, it it doesn't seem like a worthy reason, but I feel like if you are as unique, you are unique as a fingerprint, and you should go for it, and you should be yourself, and you should be proud, and you certainly shouldn't take all your work and like bury it in the sand. Like, what is that thing from the Bible? Like, is you put the bushel under the stool, or you put the lamp under the stool, or the lamp under the bushel? I don't remember the exact thing. I think there was lamps and there were bushels, and I think there might have been a stool. But you can't do that. You gotta be out there. So that's what I've been doing, and I feel like my greatest asset is myself. I mean, just talking to you here, being honest with my writing, and just continuing that. I honestly feel that's the biggest asset. I had a friend once. I hope I still have a friend. I had a friend once that I knew for a long time and who I respected a lot. who said to me, and he said this to me at least 12, 13 years ago. He said, Val, sometimes people meet you and they have an immediate resentment of you because they can sense that who you really are, you're hiding and holding back. You're holding it back and not giving of yourself. And you've put up this screen. And they can kind of sense it, and then they just kind of quietly resent it. And I think I have done that a lot. Though I will say in my defense, you know, sometimes, I mean, that's like a, what do you call it? You have an instinct to protect yourself, a protective instinct. That was a protective instinct. You know, and sometimes depending on the situation, I think sometimes you need that protective instinct to kick in where it's just not going to be worth it for you to be yourself. You know, like those sort of in and out situations are like, you know, no controversy, and I'm leaving, no controversy. But, I mean, I'm a writer, and I think I'm an artist. And I'm supposed to express myself and be honest. Because if I don't do that, and I'm not honest with you, my friend said, you might quietly resent me for it because I'm holding back. So I shouldn't hold back. And that's why I have all the kind of goofy stuff on my YouTube channel. I'm still kind of finding my way. All the goofy stuff that I have because I'm just really trying to find myself. And I'm trying to express the things I'm passionate about and be real to you. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's really that. So if you learn anything from this ramble I've just done, it's that, you know, really don't self-censor yourself. Be real. Because, I mean, there's a purpose for it, I think. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. I feel like I should have had like a pad of paper with like a list, and I didn't do that, and I'm wasting your time, and I'm so sorry. I mean, it's, you know, if I'm going to shoot the shit for a little bit longer, it's almost the end of April. On my blog, Butterfly Language, I talk about, you know, April, the cursed month, which I realize is like, you know, one of those self-fulfilling prophecy / negative thinking things. But I do kind of do it with my tongue planted in cheek, somewhat. And so, like, April has an unusual amount of weird shit happening in it, historically. And so, and it's sort of, the kind of the first signs of that are like back in March, where you have mid-March, the Ides of March, and I talk about that too in my blog. And then it leads to April, the cursed month. And then that, you know, just sort of slowly peters out until like sort of May, the sort of starting to get sticky month. And then June, like, oh my God, put the air conditioner on month. And then August, which is like, you know, just sitting there, lying face down amongst all the dry blades of grass, and so on and so on. That all said, I don't think April was such a terrible month as I thought it would be. And I certainly got a lot of work done and a lot of insights. And I have tremendous support from the people who read my blog and watch these videos. And it really means like a lot. And it's, what is that old adage? It's sort of like, you can't fully define yourself away from other people. It kind of sometimes has to be a give and take. But that said, you know, you gotta have to also find your own tribe of people. And then Joseph Campbell says, if you follow your bliss, you will find your people. And I'd like to think that I'm kind of doing that. And of course, as you do that and you get more and more on your path, more and more synchronicities happen. Synchronicities, also known as meaningless coincidences, depending on what your particular reality tunnel is. But yeah, you get more and more synchronicities, and those synchronicities happen to sort of affirm to you you're on the right path. You know, like if you're like, it's like reading a book and like you're listening to a radio show at the same time and like the same word you hear at the same moment that you see the word on the page. It's sort of like, now you can't get too caught up in this stuff or else you lose your goddamn mind. So you got to be very loosey-goosey with the synchronicity stuff. But I mean, if you handle this stuff gingerly and, you know, take down some stuff in your journal, it can be quite helpful. But yeah, you know, like I definitely feel I'm more on the path, and I wouldn't say that everything is golden, or stress-free. You do have to be kind of wary of that sort of manic, everything is great now, I've seen the light, everything is great, there's nothing bad that's going to happen. If you're doing that, you might be having a manic phase. You really might be having a manic phase. But, you know, like, balance is key. When you're on the path and you're trying to live out your dreams and you're trying to live out who you are, you need balance. And what I found, like, I did a bunch of studying on life coaching for the last several years because I kind of wanted to be a life coach. But I thought it was too goofy in the end to be a life coach. Because, well, you know, like, I thought it was just too goofy because, like, I felt like a lot of female life coaches are just very sort of like Glinda the Good Witch and just like, positive thoughts and chakras and yay. And like, I really wasn't that at all. That was just like, I didn't fit into all that. Like, I remember, I don't know if you've heard of Hay House, like Louise Hay's publishing company that would like publish all this sort of new age self-improvement stuff. So like I attended one of their conferences once because I think this was in 2014. And I felt like I so didn't fit in there. And I felt like, oh man, I felt like a toad, man. I felt like I didn't fit in, and I didn't think I had what it took to be a life coach. But if I was your life coach and I was giving you advice right now about following your path and living your dreams and being yourself, you know, you need balance. And the problem sometimes with books like The Secret and things of that nature, those sort of law of attraction books, is that they don't really present this as balance. They present this as if law of attraction is like an ATM machine, right? It's like, you know, oh, and then you concentrate, and then this thing happens, and then yay! And they don't really talk about too much about like the dark night of the soul and Chapel Perilous and all the trials you may have to go through. And sometimes I don't feel they really talk about this important point. And if you're younger than me, or somewhat younger than me, this is something you really should know. And I think I may close it here. I may close this video here at this point. Who you think you are when you're younger might not actually be who you really are. What does that mean? When we're very small and we're like, you know, little children, we kind of know who we are. And we know what we gravitate towards, and it's very natural. And then what society does is society then smacks that and smacks that and smacks that until you're all sort of like out of shape and you slowly try to become someone else to stop all the smacks, basically, and to be accepted. Because there's always that primal fear of being rejected by the pack. You know, the animal, you know, the bear cub or the wolf cub is afraid of being rejected from the pack. If they're kind of different or seem a little sickly or whatever. Because if they're rejected from the pack, then it's like very likely that they will die in exile. So we still kind of carry those ancient mammalian lizard brain type things in our brains. And so, you know, as we become teenagers and young adults, we try to move away as far as possible. We often move as far away as possible from whom we really are because we want to be accepted. And then we think this new sort of this creature, this sort of patchwork facade that we've created in conjunction with society is our true self. So then we pick up, you know, The Secret book, and then we like learn about law of attraction. We get a life coach, and we're like, oh yeah, I'm embracing my true self. I'm embracing my true self. I'm embracing my true self. But we don't really know. But it's the wrong self, and that's happened to me. You know, it's like I'm focusing on the wrong self because I don't know better. And so I'm trying to use the law of attraction, and I'm trying to use power of positive thinking, and I'm trying to do free to be you and me, but I don't know who the fuck I am. And sometimes the only way you can learn about who the fuck you really are is by going through trials. Going through trials and bad times that teach you this important thing, this realization where you go, oh, I don't like that, or oh, that's not who I am, and you begin to define yourself, who you really are, through this process. And I don't think like every person will go through that, but I think it's something that frequently happens. And when you keep going through these different trials, and I have gone through these trials, you keep going through these trials, you start to, the layers get lifted and lifted and lifted until, like you're in the crucible, right? You're in the crucible, you're burning in the crucible, and what's left is yourself. And that, I would say, if I can teach you nothing else, that is the most important thing, to realize who you are at that moment when you've gone through the crucible and you're like purified and you're like yourself. And you go, huh. And then once you achieve that, I think then working on stuff like The Secret and Law of Attraction and working with like Good Life Coach and all that sort of stuff can really benefit you. But you first need to get there. And if you don't, and if you hide parts of yourself, like big parts of yourself, and just like sort of hide it from the world, and you have this big facade, I get why you're doing it. You're doing it because it's this primal fear of being rejected by the pack. But you have to get over that at some point. Because if you don't get over it, it's like you're going to keep being reminded. Like, what does that song go? There's always something there to remind me. That's really what's going to happen until you remember. And I believe that I'm not 100% there, and I'm not saying my life is perfect or I'm perfect or anything, but I think I've really peeled back a lot of the layers, and I think I have a really good handle on who I am. And I'm not perfect, and I think I'm still evolving, but I think I'm closer to who I am. I was an English major, and I did English tutoring, but yet I still have these problems. Who I am, still trying to, trying to figure that out. It's still an evolving process, but I think I'm getting closer. And no matter what else is going on in my life that may be like, at least I have that. At least I have myself. And at least I'm being true to myself. And I can tell you this. No matter how much money you have, and no matter how many friends you have, and no matter how much power you have, and all this sort of material trappings, if you don't have yourself, if you don't embrace yourself, then you don't have anything in the end. And you'll really feel it. And nothing will fill it up other than yourself. Like, sex isn't going to fill it up. Alcohol's not going to fill it up. Drugs are not going to fill it up. Food is not going to fill it up. Money's not going to fill it up. Praise and fame are not going to fill it up if you're not yourself. So even just today, if you have a moment, think about it and say, like, how much of myself am I really am? Or do you need more self-introspection? And some of you are already there, and some of you are not. And it's okay, whatever leg of the journey you are in is great, because, it's just a journey. And as Bill Hicks says, it's just a ride. It's just a ride. Enjoy the ride. And, but you also may want to bring, like, crossword puzzle or something to do on the ride to keep yourself occupied, and bring a snack. Definitely bring a snack, because you may get, like the sort of get car sick and you get tummy and everything like that. So, all right. Thank you for listening to me ramble. And I will have more stuff later. And have a great day. Bye.